I rise to speak against this bill in general and for any new clause that seeks to end the hostile environment. On this particular bill, ministers seem to create confusion about the contents of the bill. Whenever they speak in public, they claim that it would introduce a points-based immigration system, which is not true. It's doubtful in any event whether primary legislation is actually needed for such a system. And whenever ministers speak, it's clear they have no intention of introducing a points-based system, but actually an income-based system. There will be some exemptions because ministers have been forced to accept the fact that many nursing professionals will not meet their planned income threshold. Yet at the same time, ministers seem blissfully unaware that social care workers earn nothing like the proposed salary thresholds, nor do the cooks, the cleaners, the security guards, the porters, and many others who have seen us through this pandemic. Many of them were on subsistence wages even before years of real term cuts led by the Conservative government from 2010 onwards. There remain huge shortages of all these workers. The ministerial plans, if not this bill, will only make those staff shortages much worse in care homes, in the NHS and in many other sectors of the economy, both public and private, as if this entire public health crisis has passed ministers by. A plan to exacerbate the crisis in the NHS and social care is one of the last things that this country needs. This bill in its current form is a disaster. So I'm pleased to support those new clauses that do things such as imposing a strict 28-day limit on immigration detention, that end the immigration surcharge, which should be ended for all, that reform deportation law and citizenship fees for those who were brought to the UK as young children, and also ensure that our moral obligation to child refugees for family reunion remains a legal one. These address the glaring issues of our immigration system. Now, there's a further issue, Mr Deputy Speaker, that I want to raise. Last week, the Home Secretary astonished most of us when she said she would implement the recommendations of the Windrush Lessons Learnt review in full. The entire spirit and some parts of the letter of that review run completely counter to the whole thrust of this government's immigration policies. In essence, to right the injustices perpetrated on the Windrush victims and to prevent a reoccurrence, the government's entire hostile environment policies have to go, full stop. I'll give way.
Right. Keeps referring to this hostile environment. Let me just quote for her. May 2007, Liam Byrne, Labour Immigration Minister, in a consultation document put out by the Home Office, we are trying to create a much more hostile environment in this country if you are here illegally. Will she just accept that and apologise to this side of the House, please?
I will not apologise, but I will point out that the government opposite has been in power for 10 years. To continuously blame various different Labour leaderships on this side makes no sense. And I've said it before and I will say it again, this is the second time in a decade that a Conservative government have retrospectively changed the rights of migrants after they've entered this country. We saw the misery that it caused the Windrush generation in the 2014 Act. And what does it say about us to bring EU nationals under these same rules? I want to turn now, Mr Deputy Speaker, to what is in the bill and the real effects on what it will do to workers here, whether they're from overseas or not. There is a real risk that the effect of this bill will be to lower the rights for all migrant workers in this country, and in that way lower rights and terms and conditions for all workers. Crucially, the right to residency will be dependent on employment status. There is no right to a family life enshrined in the bill, and no recourse to public funds remains an explicit policy. The combination of these and other factors effectively creates another lower tier of the workforce with fewer rights and very limited means of enforcing even those. This is dangerous enough to migrant workers, but it can also rebound on the entire workforce as unscrupulous employers play divide and rule. Our legislation on health and safety, on equal pay, opposing discrimination is not enforced vigorously enough as it is. If a large section of the workforce can be treated as second class, the situation for everyone will get worse. Quite simply, Mr Deputy Speaker, this bill is not fit for purpose as it stands. Thank you.